Hello fellow gardeners, welcome back to the channel where we unearth ancient gardening wisdom and put it to work in modern gardens. If you're new here, I'm thrilled to have you join our community of gardeners who believe that the best solutions often come from nature itself, not from expensive bottles on store shelves. Today, we're diving into something truly special, a forgotten technique that's going to revolutionize the way you think about soil fertility. What if I told you the secret to garden superfertility has been hidden in plain sight, brewing in the shadows of history? Imagine your garden exploding with life, vibrant and fertile like never before. The secret isn't in an expensive bottle from the garden center, but in a forgotten brewing technique that harnesses the power of yeast. This isn't just about feeding your plants. It's about unlocking the hidden potential of your soil, easily and effectively, to achieve garden vitality you never thought possible. For generations, skilled gardeners whispered about incredibly fertile soils and the legend of a forgotten brew that transformed barren ground into paradise. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on this ancient wisdom and revealing how humble yeast, transformed through fermentation, can revolutionize your garden from the ground up. The Alchemist's Garden. Understanding the Yeast Revolution. The story of yeast and soil fertility reads like a lost chapter from an ancient gardening manuscript. Long before synthetic fertilizers dominated the agricultural landscape, farmers and gardeners relied on fermented solutions to feed their land. These weren't just old wives' tales or superstitious rituals. They were based on observable results that modern science is only now beginning to fully understand and validate. The breakthrough lies in recognizing that healthy soil isn't just dirt. It's a living, breathing ecosystem teeming with billions of microorganisms that determine whether your plants merely survive or absolutely thrive. Yeast, that humble organism we associate with bread and beer, holds extraordinary power when introduced to garden soil through fermentation. Unlike the quick-fix approach of chemical fertilizers that bypass the soil's natural processes, yeast brewing works with nature's intricate web of life. When you create a fermented yeast solution, you're essentially crafting a liquid catalyst that awakens dormant potential in your soil. This isn't about dumping nutrients onto plants. It's about creating a biological revolution underground that cascades into spectacular results above ground. The brewing revelation, how yeast transforms soil, really kicks off when yeast meets sugar and warm water. The magic begins here, with this seemingly simple combination triggering a fermentation process that produces so much more than just bubbles and foam. During fermentation, yeast cells multiply rapidly and produce an arsenal of beneficial compounds that, honestly, transform soil biology. The process creates enzymes, organic acids, vitamins, amino acids, and natural growth hormones, all working together to enhance every aspect of soil health. When this fermented solution enters your soil, it acts as a spark igniting a cascade of beneficial activities. The yeast cells themselves actually become food for other soil microorganisms, which creates a kind of feeding frenzy of microbial activity. This increased biological activity breaks down organic matter more efficiently, releasing nutrients that were, up until now, locked away in forms plants just couldn't access. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and trace minerals that were chemically bound in your soil suddenly become available, without you having to add even a single bag of fertilizer. The metabolic byproducts of yeast fermentation include natural plant growth hormones like auxins and gibberellins. These compounds stimulate root development and shoot growth in ways that, honestly, synthetic fertilizers just can't replicate. Auxins promote cell elongation and root branching, which creates more extensive root systems that can explore greater volumes of soil. Gibberellins, on the other hand, trigger stem elongation, leaf expansion, and flowering. When your plants receive these natural hormones through the soil solution, they respond with vigor that seems almost magical, but it's really just pure biology at work. Beyond nutrition and hormones, the yeast brew introduces beneficial microorganisms that compete with and suppress soil-borne pathogens. Certain yeast species produce compounds that inhibit harmful fungi, offering your plants a natural form of disease protection. The soil structure itself improves as microbial populations flourish, producing sticky substances that bind soil particles into aggregates. These aggregates create the crumbly texture that gardeners dream about, improving drainage in clay soils while enhancing water retention in sandy soils. DIY Super Soil, brew your step-by-step guide. Creating your own forgotten yeast brew requires nothing more than ingredients from your pantry and a bit of patience. Start with 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast, the same kind you'd use for baking bread. Add 1 teaspoon of sugar, either white or brown, which serves as food for the yeast during fermentation. The water you use matters more than you might think. Chlorinated tap water can inhibit or kill yeast, so if your municipal water is chlorinated, let it sit uncovered for 24 hours to allow the chlorine to dissipate, or use filtered water. The water should be lukewarm, roughly the temperature of a comfortable bath, around 90 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Dissolve your sugar completely in the lukewarm water, then sprinkle the yeast over the surface. Stir gently to incorporate it fully, and you'll notice the mixture beginning to foam almost immediately as the yeast awakens and starts consuming the sugar. Transfer your mixture to a clean glass or food-grade plastic container, leaving plenty of headspace because the fermentation will create foam and bubbles. Cover the container loosely with a clean cloth or towel secured with a rubber band. This allows air exchange while keeping out contaminants. Place your container in a warm, dark location. A kitchen cupboard or closet works perfectly. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, fermentation magic happens as billions of yeast cells multiply and produce beneficial compounds. After the fermentation period, your concentrated brew is ready for dilution. This step is really important because applying concentrated yeast solution directly to your plants can be, well, too intense and potentially harmful. You'll want to dilute your fermented brew at a ratio of 1 part yeast mixture to 5 to 10 parts non-chlorinated water. If you're working with young seedlings or sensitive plants, it's best to lean toward the more diluted end of the spectrum. For established plants and vegetable gardens, you can go with a stronger concentration. Make sure to mix thoroughly, and use your diluted brew within 24 hours for maximum potency, since the beneficial compounds and living microorganisms start to decline after that window. Water the solution directly onto the soil at the base of your plants and try to avoid getting it on the foliage if you can. This soil drench method delivers the yeast, microorganisms, and beneficial compounds right to the root zone where they're needed most. Apply enough solution to thoroughly moisten the top few inches of soil, but be careful not to create waterlogged conditions. During the active growing season, from spring through early fall, it's best to apply your diluted yeast brew once every 2 to 3 weeks. This regular schedule helps maintain elevated microbial activity and gives your plants consistent access to the brew's benefits without overwhelming the soil ecosystem. For an extra boost, especially during transplanting or when your plants are showing signs of stress, you can use the diluted brew as a foliar spray. It's best to apply it early in the morning or late in the evening when temperatures are cool. The leaves will absorb nutrients and beneficial compounds directly, giving you a pretty rapid response, while the soil application continues working from below. This foliar method is especially effective for seedlings, which tend to respond dramatically to the natural growth hormones in the brew. Beyond the brew, the ecosystem revolution is really where things get interesting. The true power of the forgotten yeast brew reveals itself not in a single application but, through sustained use over the seasons. Gardeners who commit to regular applications, well, they start to see a fundamental transformation of their garden's entire ecosystem. The soil itself changes character, becoming darker, richer, and more friable with each passing month. Earthworm populations increase noticeably in soil treated with yeast brews, drawn to the enhanced microbial activity and improved soil conditions, and their tunneling, it further enhances drainage and aeration, creating a virtuous cycle where each element of the ecosystem supports and amplifies the others. Water retention improves dramatically in soils regularly treated with fermented yeast solutions. The improved soil structure creates more pore spaces that hold moisture while still allowing excess water to drain. Plants in treated soil show greater drought tolerance, requiring less frequent irrigation even during hot weather. Disease resistance strengthens across the entire garden as beneficial microorganisms establish dominance over pathogenic species. Plants grown in yeast-treated soil show fewer fungal infections, reduce susceptibility to bacterial diseases, and, just better recovery when stress or damage occurs. The long-term trajectory leads toward true soil regeneration and sustainability. Gardens maintained with yeast brews gradually require fewer external inputs as the soil ecosystem matures and becomes self-sustaining. Chemical fertilizer dependency drops to zero for many gardeners who embrace this approach. The soil builds organic matter, improves its structure, and develops the biological diversity that characterizes truly healthy living earth. The future of your garden starts today. The forgotten yeast brew represents more than just another gardening technique. It's really a doorway to understanding and partnering with the living soil beneath our feet. This ancient wisdom, validated by modern science, offers every gardener the opportunity to transform their plots from adequate to extraordinary, using nothing more than humble ingredients and nature's own processes. Start with a single batch and treat one bed to compare against your current methods. Document the differences you observe in plant vigor, disease resistance, and overall productivity. If you found value in learning about this forgotten brewing secret, make sure to subscribe to Soil Sorcery Studio for more ancient gardening wisdom being rediscovered and tested for modern gardens. Hit that notification bell so you never miss new techniques that can transform your growing experience. Share this video with fellow gardeners who are ready to break free from chemical dependency and embrace the power of living soil. Drop a comment below and let me know if you're ready to try this brew. I can't wait to hear about your results. Your transformation starts with a single batch of this forgotten brew, so what are you waiting for? Let's get brewing and unlock your garden's hidden potential together.